Most people think feeling financially safe comes from earning more money, but that's not actually true. Let me start with an uncomfortable observation. There are people earning $60, $70, even $80,000 a year, and they still feel nervous checking their bank balance. At the same time, there are people earning far less who sleep better at night. The difference usually shows up around one quiet number. Not a salary number, not a promotion, but savings. For many people, that number is their first $25,000. Now imagine a fairly normal situation in the US or Europe. You're in your late 20s or early 30s. You have a stable job. Your gross salary might be around $60,000 a year. After taxes, healthcare, and Social Security, you take home maybe $42,000. That's about $3,500 a month. Rent or mortgage takes $1,500. Car payment and insurance take $500. Utilities, phone, internet take $300. Groceries another $400. Student loans, credit cards, subscriptions, maybe another $500. Before you realize it, over $3,000 is already spoken for. You're not irresponsible. You're not reckless. You're doing what everyone around you is doing, and yet every unexpected expense feels like a small crisis, a medical bill, a car repair, a job rumor, an economic headline. Money doesn't feel safe. It feels fragile. Here's the part people don't like to admit. The stress isn't coming from your income. It's coming from how close you are to zero. When your savings are $2,000, every problem feels urgent. When your savings are $5,000, you still feel exposed. But something interesting happens when that number slowly approaches $25,000. Nothing magical changes on paper. You're not rich. You're not free. But your thinking starts to shift. You stop opening your banking app with tension. You stop reacting emotionally to every expense. You stop panicking about being one paycheck away from disaster. And this is where most people make a hidden financial mistake. They assume safety comes from more earning. So they focus all their energy on income upgrades, lifestyle upgrades, and external validation. Bigger apartment, better car, more comfort. But what they're really doing is increasing their monthly burn rate while staying psychologically close to zero. The system quietly encourages this. Banks reward spending. Advertisements reward identity-based purchases. Social pressure rewards visible upgrades, not invisible stability. No one compliments your emergency fund. But everyone notices your new car. So people build a life that looks successful, but feels financially tight. And until that changes, money always feels like it could disappear. That's why the first $25,000 matters. Not because it's a lot of money, but because it creates distance from zero. And distance changes behavior. Let's slow this down with simple math. $25,000 is not freedom money. It's not retirement money. It's not even investment money for most people. It's buffer money. If your monthly expenses are $3,000, $25,000 represents more than 8 months of life. 8 months where rent still gets paid. 8 months where food still happens. 8 months where you don't make decisions from panic. That math alone changes how your brain processes risk. Before this point, every choice feels loaded. You stay in jobs you dislike because you're afraid of missing a paycheck. You avoid learning new skills because survival takes priority. You say yes to financial commitments you shouldn't because saying no feels dangerous. Psychologically, your brain is in defense mode. Scarcity narrows thinking. It makes people short-term focused. It makes small costs feel large and large costs feel inevitable. That's why people with low savings often use credit cards for predictable expenses, not because they're bad with money, but because their margin is too thin. Now, here's the uncomfortable part. Most people don't fail financially because of one big mistake. They fail because of hundreds of small decisions made under pressure. Leasing a car instead of buying used. Carrying a balance instead of paying it off. Upgrading lifestyle slightly faster than income grows. Each choice feels reasonable in isolation, but together they delay safety for years. When someone reaches that first $25,000, their behavior subtly changes. They negotiate better. They walk away more easily. They invest more patiently. Not because they became smarter, but because they stopped being afraid. This is where financially intelligent people differ. They don't obsess over returns first. They obsess over resilience. They know that without psychological safety, every financial strategy eventually breaks. That's why many people who invest early still feel stressed. They invested before they stabilized. So when markets fluctuate, they panic. When income drops, they sell. When life happens, they reverse progress. 25,000 doesn't eliminate risk, it absorbs it. And that absorption changes everything. You stop thinking in weeks. You start thinking in years. Now let's talk about the long-term impact if this is ignored. If someone spends their 20s and 30s chasing visible success without building invisible stability, they usually reach midlife exhausted. Their income might be high, their expenses are higher. Their flexibility is low, they can't pause, they can't pivot, they can't downshift without fear. Money controls decisions instead of supporting them. But people who prioritize that early buffer experience something different. They take fewer desperate risks. They invest more consistently. They compound quietly. They understand that financial freedom doesn't start with wealth. It starts with control. And control begins the moment money stops feeling urgent. That's what the first 25,000 really represents. Not a milestone to brag about, but a mental transition. From reacting to planning. From stress to clarity. From survival to strategy. There's no celebration when it happens. No dramatic before and after moment. You just notice that money feels quieter, and quiet money leads to better decisions, not faster wealth, not guaranteed success, just fewer mistakes. And over time, fewer mistakes matter more than big wins. If this way of thinking makes sense to you, you'll probably enjoy the rest of the conversations on this channel. You can subscribe if you want to hear more calm, realistic takes on money. No pressure.